Nanya apa dia ulangin lagi pertanyaannya, yang nanya apa diulangi sampai pegawai imigrasi udah kesana kan berangkat tanpa visa ke Jerman, kawin sama orang Jerman, jadi pelukis di Eropa. Ya kasih saya satu hadiah lukisan, di mana ada anak Indonesia, pintar bawa buku, educated seperti saudara-saudara. Di atasnya ada balon merah putih yang besar sekali. Artinya, dengan memegang balon merah putih ini, pemuda-pemudi Indonesia bisa terbang tinggi sekali. Tetapi dua kakinya digandoli, satu oleh feudalisme. Nggak mungkin satu negara maju kalau basisnya feudalisme. Satu lagi KKN. Jadi tugas sejarah kita, kalau mau Indonesia maju, gandolan ini harus dipotong. Baru pemuda-pemudi Indonesia bisa terbang tinggi. Yang kedua, sebelum saya masuk topik Robi, tadi karena Marjoro banyak cerita tentang Pak Habibie.
Musuhnya.
Ya.
Kalau punya TV musuhnya.
Dulu Faisal sama saya suka ngeritik Pak Habibie, tulisan maupun macam-macam. Bukan kita nggak setuju ide industri penerbangan, tapi cara Habibie itu boros dan mahal. Dia nggak pedulikan competitiveness, dia hanya peduli cost. Suatu hari saya ketua Bulog waktu itu, saya ditelepon oleh Gus Dur. Rizal, ini IPTN bleeding terus. Terus kamu benahin, kamu rapihin. Gus Dur salah alamat, Gus, saya ketua Bulog. Saya kan coba ngeles kan. Emang kenapa presiden perintahkan ketua Bulog, nggak ada yang berani tanya. Terus saya masih coba ngeles. Saya bilang, maaf Gus, waktu Pak Habibie jadi dirut IPTN, wakil presiden, saya sempat kritik di media dan di televisi. Gus Dur jawabannya, ya itu salahnya kamu kualat. Apa yang kamu kritik-kritik dia, sekarang kamu jawab kalau beresin itu IPTN. Nah, seperti kemarin ketahui, pada waktu itu IMF dan mafia Berkeley ingin sekali IPTN ditutup. Ingat gak? Ya, berita headline Tempo tentang keberengsekan dan kerugian IPTN itu bocoran dari Ali Wardana kepada Fikri Juve. Dan mafia memang pengen hancurin IPTN. Waktu itu saya menolak menghancurkan itu. Sebagai Menko, kalau saya laksanakan perintah IMF, kita tutup IPTN. Kami nggak mau, kami ubah paradigma organisasinya. Dari IPTN jadi PT Dirgantara Indonesia. Yang kedua, kami minta bikin plan 2 tahun supaya bisa untung, karena waktu itu bleeding terus. Yang nggak penting-penting jual, yang penting diperbaiki supaya kita lebih kompetitif, termasuk untuk menerima pekerjaan untuk membuat sayapnya Boeing dan Airbus dan sebagainya. Saya ganti direksinya dengan generasi kedua Habibie. Saudara Yusman SD saya angkat jadi dirut daripada Dirgantara Indonesia. Saya kasih waktu bilang 2 tahun, kalau kamu nggak bisa beresin ini Yus, lo ganti. Dan dalam 2 tahun kita bisa membuat IPTN yang dalam sejarah itu selalu merugi menjadi untung, walaupun nggak bisa hanya berapa puluh miliar. Sayangnya setelah itu pemerintahnya ganti, pemerintahan Megawati, dia taruh Laksamana, dan Yusman besar kepala, kepengen juga jadi ketua Ikatan Alumni ITB. Lawan Laksamana. Laksamana nggak terima sama-sama di ITB, dia juga kepengen jadi ketua Ikatan Alumni, dia sikat, dia pecat semua. Yusman dan kawan-kawan. Indonesian Elite. Diganti sama direksi yang nggak dikenal oleh bos-bos Boeing maupun Airbus. Yang nggak bisa dapat pekerjaan sama sekali selama 2 tahun. Akibatnya Dirgantara rugi kembali. Ribuan karyawannya dipecat tanpa PHK. Saya datang ke Pengadilan Negeri Bandung untuk menjelaskan bahwa ini bukan salah karyawan, tapi salahnya manajemen yang nggak bisa dapat order pekerjaan. Saya minta mereka dikasih PHK Saya ingat sekali, sedih sekali waktu itu, karena puluhan ribu keluarganya datang di pengadilan negeri Bandung. Dan mereka akhirnya terima kasih, hakim mendengarkan testimoni kami, memenangkan karyawan daripada Dirgantara itu. Nah sebetulnya pada waktu itu ada satu faset lagi yang nyaris kami kerjakan. Kami bicara dengan Mahathir, bicara dengan Taksin, supaya invest di PT Dirgantara. Waktu itu disepakati 500 juta dolar, termasuk Sultan Brunei. Tapi kami tidak tertarik dengan uang investasinya. Tapi kalau mereka jadi pemegang saham, mereka harus beli produknya tadi di PTN, produk Dirgantara. Dan waktu itu Mahathir setuju, Taksin setuju, Sultan Brunei setuju. Kalau itu dilakukan, Dirgantara akan jauh lebih sehat. Tetapi pemerintah yang baru nggak tertarik sama sekali. Akhirnya Dirgantara merosot, sekarang sudah baik kembali. Jadi saya ingin mengklarifikasi nih, Umar, kalau nggak ada Rizal Ramli, Dirgantara udah tenggelam, tutup. Karena yang neken waktu itu IMF, yang neken waktu itu Ali Wardana dan kawan-kawan. Now let us talk about Indonesia. You heard the detail already dari Pak Bank Indonesia tadi, dari Umar. I always think Indonesia is a sleeping giant. The giant that never really wake up and run very fast. Of course, growing at 5 to 6% is autopilot in Indonesia. Our domestic demand are big enough to guarantee at least 4 to 5% economic growth. You don't have to do anything. But to be a bigger player in Asia, we need to grow more than 10%. That's the only way to guarantee new jobs for the new young kids who go into the labor market. In terms of economic growth, Indonesia is all right, moderate growth. Never go into what called high growth above 10%. But in terms of welfare, in terms of what we call as Human Development Index, Indonesia is the lowest in Asia. What are Human Development Index? Essentially, whether you are well fed, you have enough protein, you have enough food, you have access to health and education. Indonesia is the lowest in ASEAN 5. Number one in terms of welfare and human development is Singapore, then Malaysia, then Thailand, then Philippines, then Indonesia. It is a shame that we are such a big and rich country that the majority of its people is still poor. There are cases in which the economic growth is also high, but along with it is improving Human Development Index. One spectacular case is China, who grew very fast, more than 14% in the last 2 decades. Human Development Index is also improving. The other case is Brazil under President Lula, in which the growth average for 6 years is 8%, 8 years is about 8%, and Human Development Index is also improving. Indonesia is a case in which economic growth is moderate, 6%, but Human Development Index is essentially doesn't change at all. So our responsibility is not just to push economic growth, but also to improve the well-being of Indonesia. That, I think, our historical duty that we have to make. Now I want to go into this Asian economic model. First, we have to differentiate free trade and fair trade. Anything free, not always fair. is like trying to put in a fight Elias Pikal, our lightweight champion, against Mike Tyson. Is it free? Yes. Is it fair? No. So our objective should be fighting for fair trade on top that it is being trade. We wanted that we have free trade for sector in which we are strong. For example, we are very strong in palm oil. We are strong in textile in ASEAN. We want a free trade in ASEAN because nobody can compete with Indonesian palm oil industry or with Indonesian textile industry, which are very integrated from upstream to downstream, polyester, spinning, design, and etc. But we would like to negotiate sector in which we are weak for adjustment and restructuring. Everybody did this. President Clinton, when he negotiated North American free trade with Mexico, there are sectors in which Americans are not very competitive, including textile, fuel industry. Clinton is asking for a period of adjustment so he can readjust, restructure the sectors that are weak so they are ready to compete with Mexico. But in sectors in which America is very strong, banking, finance, high technology, automotive, Clinton won free trade. This is the principle that we should hold. We are ready to compete on free trade for sector in which we are strong, and we should negotiate for sector that are weak that we can restructure. Of course, there are a couple of angles or concepts with respect to Asian economic community. One is whether we should go into monetary and fiscal integration and integration of currency union. I'm against this thing. I don't want Indonesia to agree to monetary and fiscal union, nor to have one ASEAN currency. Why should we? We are the strongest. We are the largest economy in ASEAN. We don't want to give our sovereign right to ASEAN bureaucrats. We should be the major player, the one that decides the direction of ASEAN, not to be the victim of ASEAN and give it the power to the ASEAN bureaucrat. But I do agree, if AEC is intended for integrated production platform, including standard, simple thing. Look at the power adapter. Each Asian country has a different power adapter. If we just have one standard of power adapter, they're going to be economic of scale, things going to be easier, and etc. Also standard of other products, specification, technical specification. I'm for this. We want this because we know it's going to benefit us and other Asian countries. Second, I'm also for integration of the marketing zone. ASEAN 10 all at once is a big market, second to China. If we are able to integrate our investment, our marketing policies, it's going to give us a higher leverage vis-a-vis the US, the European community, and China. But again, I'm against monetary and fiscal integration and union of currency. We can do better if we maintain independence in this dimension. Which sector Indonesians are strong? One example is textile. In polyester, we have the material, we have the machinery, upstream and downstream, yarn, spinning, garment industry, design. Indonesia is very strong. The opening of the ASEAN market should give us more opportunity to penetrate ASEAN market. Our only competitor is Thailand, but in terms of size, in terms of integration, Thailand textile industry is far below us. Second is motorcycles. Indonesia is one consumer. We should turn that as a major player, as a producer. We are already with imported spare parts and components and penetrate ASEAN market. In terms of airline, Indonesia is the strongest in ASEAN. The Gus Dur government opening the chance, the opportunity for new national airline to compete with the state airline. That is when AirAsia, Sriwijaya Air, we give them the license. There are competition. As the result of that policy, the cost per passenger per kilometer declined by 60%. Indonesians that are before unable to take a plane, flight, now have the chance to travel by airplane. This is just one example in which you can change the country by policy, not money. We did it in the year 2000. Although this is going to be a problem, well, later we can discuss that. Lion Air is going to be a problem, financial. The fourth is rural banking. Indonesia has the strongest, the best rural banking operation in the world. Not because I was the field coordinator of reforming rural banking in the year 1980-82. Fadil, tadi Fadil ya. Salah satu with the Harvard team. One thing about rural banking is we don't rely lending to the rural people by collateral. We give them a loan in the 1982, for example, one family 500,000. If they pay that on time, in 3 months, we double their loan. If they pay on time again, we double their loan. So we built the first time credit history of the rural people. You might imagine nobody used so many PC in Indonesia in 1982. We installed that in 3,600 villages all over Indonesia, the first PC network. As the result, our bad debt, the unit desa, the village bank bad debt, since 1982 until now is less than 3%. You look at the record of the big bank in Indonesia, most of them have a bad debt in crisis about 80%, 90%. Where our unit desa, bad debt is very low. And when I was there as the field coordinator for this implementation of the project, Professor Muhammad Yunus come to Indonesia from Bangladesh. He learned from our system, go back to Bangladesh, set up the Grameen Bank, but with the segment of borrower poorer than us. Our segment of borrower is richer than the Grameen Bank. Professor Yunus received a Nobel Prize winner in economics. He learned from Indonesia. Then when I was about to leave for the US, we hired Obama mother as our sociology advisor. That's why Obama comes to Indonesia. He finished his primary school in Menteng, Jakarta. When he's to enter junior high school, his grandparents bring him to Hawaii send him to the best school in Hawaii so he can go to Harvard and become the US president. If Obama still in Indonesia with his mother, you know what his maximum career is, Obama? Corporate Secretary of Bank Rakyat Indonesia. Because his English must be very good. That's fate. You cannot fight against fate. But BRI becomes such very efficient and effective bank. 10 years ago, BRI asset is only 1/3 of Bank Mandiri. Bank Mandiri is more modern, stronger capital injected by 80 billion VLBI, government bond, and never paid it back. BRI, 1/3 of Bank Mandiri. No, BRI asset and profitability is above Bank Mandiri. And return, the VLBI, which is about, forget, 15 to 20 trillion. The only bank that returned VLBI. And I do believe, like Umar said, leadership is important. You can do this with good leadership. Yeah, Mandiri is so slow, smart, student of physics, like Umar and me, but very good behind the table, not very good on the field. Yeah. So, we can, I think, compete in rural banking in the ASEAN 10. I will not agree to the idea for Bank Mandiri, BNI, to compete in Singapore and Malaysia. Because they are going to lose money. Don't forget the spread, the cost of money and lending rate in Indonesia is one of the highest in the world, 6 to 7%. Umar doesn't tell you the whole truth. Why my bank is interested in Indonesia? Why CIMB is interested in Indonesia? Because the margin is the highest in the world. In Singapore, the margin is only 0.5%. In Malaysia, the margin is only 1.5%. In Indonesia, the banking margin is 6 to 7%. That's why so many foreign bank owners would love to have a branch in Indonesia. It's a license to bring money and profit. But this is also tell you the other story, that the Indonesian banking sector is not yet fully competitive. They are in a quasi-oligopolistic competition, although there are about 160 banks. If they are really competitive, the spread would be less than 2%. Now, with that kind of profit and spread, if the big four state banks, Mandiri, BNI, compete in Singapore, they're going to lose money. If they compete in Malaysia, they're going to lose money. But if we ask Bank Rakyat Indonesia to go to Cambodia, to Laos, to the bottom of ASEAN 10, they are going to be the real winner. They are going to be very profitable. And after that, you can go into Singapore or Malaysia. I would have a different strategy. Penetrate first the ASEAN bottom 10-5, because we are very competitive, the model is there, it's fully automated. BRI is also the only bank by this year who have a satellite. So we can expand the penetration of our market. So there are this kind of sector in which Indonesia is very competitive. We don't have to be afraid with other competitors in ASEAN. Which sector Indonesia is weak? I'm sorry to say, we are very weak in professional human resources. Not at the unskilled segment. Indonesia is very competitive. Our labor is cheap That's why so many Indonesians working in the plantation of Malaysia or working as maid in Singapore and Hong Kong. But we are not very competitive at the upper end of the human resource. That is why you are that go to school here are the elite like Umar Shah. Because you have the capacity to compete with anybody in ASEAN. But also, I remember if you are the elite in a French leftist tradition, obligé. You are a nobleman, you are the elite because of your education, because of your opportunity. You have the obligation to also benefit others. That, I think, a principle that are of importance. So we have to improve our university. Our university is not as competitive as our high school. Our high school, I think, is quite good. Indonesian high school graduate, if you send it abroad, they're going to be at least very good in math, yeah, physics, science. They are going to be able to compete with anybody in the world. But Indonesian university graduates are not, because they are not very competitive yet. This is a reform that we need to do. Banking, as I said, are not competitive. Processed food are not competitive. And processed food, a lot of it, Indonesia import a couple of $billion. This is a big market in ASEAN because we are lack of branding, we are lack of good packaging, we are lack of good variation and quality control. But what happened now is the current government trying to increase our competitiveness? I'm sorry, no. Because the minister, only creativity is increase price. Increase energy price, increase whatever price. How come you said you want to be competitive in ASEAN if all utility price is one of the most expensive in ASEAN? And most of the high cost is essentially corruption. In electricity, yeah, Indonesian electricity cost is one of the highest in ASEAN. If you really look at it, it's mostly corruption and inefficiency. Yeah, the last minister, Dahlan Iskan, imported at least 1,000 of diesel genset, which make the cost of producing 1 kilowatt of electricity about 30 cents per kilowatt, 5 times coal-based electricity. Just in the north of Sumatra, they have to pay a leasing cost for genset. They didn't do it because if they starting the power station, they don't need the lease genset. Yeah, the new director of PLN told me. There's so much inefficiency in PLN. It is not a subsidy to the people, like what the media used to say. This is a subsidy to rakyat. No, this is a subsidy of KKM, corruption, and misguided policy. That's happened a lot in state enterprise. Can we do something about it? I think yes, I can. We can. I prove it. I was the former chairman of Semen Gresik, Semen Padang, and Semen Tonasa. The day I was appointed, in the evening, I invited for dinner all the director and board of those 3 cement companies. I said, I got an offer to be the chairman for many corporations in Indonesia. I chose Semen Gresik because there are a lot of hidden value. If within 1 year, there's no increased performance, there's only 2 options. Rizal Ramli is going to use all his influence to fire you all. Or he will tender his resignation. Why I should be there if I didn't increase value? The next day, we have a meeting. I asked only two requests. One, I want the cost of making cement declined by $10 per ton. Second, I want to increase our operating day, which is only 250 days a year. In other countries, cement operate 330 days a year. I want to increase it by 50 days a year. Then one of the executive asked me a question. Dr. Ramli, it's impossible to lower cost because inflation is 7%. I answer politely, I'm really sorry, sir. You don't tell Dr. Rizal Ramli about inflation. He's one of the top economists in the country. Soalnya boleh sombong dikit dong. Simple kok. All the suppliers of state enterprise is KKN. Ask them to lower the cost by $10. Kalau nggak setuju, cari supplier lain, banyak yang ada. Kemudian soal hari, one of the executive said the director, impossible, our machine is tua, banyak spare part yang nggak ini. Tipikal orang Indonesia, kalau cari alasan itu tidak ada. Saya bilang saya nggak terima. Hari gini tinggal lihat di Google perlu spare part apa, komponen apa. The outcome is simple. Kalau nambah 50 hari, 1/5 kali 16 juta ton, itu 3,2 juta ton. Kali sekian puluh $. Biaya ganti spare part komponen, 1/4, setengahnya dalam mesin, nggak ada soal. Do for it. Saya minta besok kita rapat, bikin plan. Besoknya semua mereka bikin rapat, direksi gitu. Tapi cost reduction hanya 25 sen per ton. Hari hanya nambah seminggu. Saya kompakin semua buat yang lain, coret semua. Coret lagi. Besoknya ganti lagi 50 sen. Berkurang, nambah 2 minggu. Tahu nggak, kayak nawar, kayak anak kecil. Karena sederhana, mereka terima sogokan dari pemasok. Kalau biaya kurang, sogokannya kecil. Sederhana kan? Akhirnya, saudara, dari semen tonase, saya coret 23 kali budget proposal. 3 bulan kerjanya rapat pun. Semen Padang saya coret hampir 21 kali. Semen Gresik saya coret 17 kali. Akhirnya saya kompromi, $8 kali 16 juta ton, itu 1,5 triliun. Nambah hari, itu nambah lagi berapa ratus miliar. Tadinya untung semen Gresik hanya 400 miliar per tahun, only 400 billion. Tidak masuk 40 besar BUMN. Within 1 year, untungnya naik ke 2,2 triliun, habis itu 3,2 triliun. Semen Gresik Indonesia masuk jadi 7 BUMN paling menguntungkan. Paling menguntungkan. Masuk asetnya juga paling besar. After 1 year, I called the compensation consultant. Tell me what is the mean salary for director of about 17 largest company, domestic and international. Maka kasih angkanya saya naikin, I increase the salary of the director, masuk 17 means. Yang kedua, akibatnya buruhnya juga naik. Tadinya saya dibenci, lama-lama kita jadi pahlawan di situ. Takes time to be an hero. Nah, naik, habis itu uang banyak sekali. Akhirnya saya putusin, we have to build new factory, 3 million ton in Gresik, 2,5 million di Makassar, 2,5 million di Padang. We have our retained earning, tapi not enough, we need money. Tadi, siapa yang bilang tadi rating Indonesia turun? Kamu tahu ya? Yeah, but it's not that difficult. Ya, saya sebulan diangkat jadi coordinating manager. I fly to New York. Saya datengin kantornya Standard and Poor and Moody, rate us now. Nggak usah ikutin schedule, biasanya setiap 6 bulan. Apa? Coba rate kita sekarang. And I tell them what we plan is, what our target are. Saya pulang, rating Republik Indonesia naik 1 tingkat. If you are proactive, you can increase your rating, meaning your cost of lending is cheaper. Sama waktu saya pimpin Semen Gresik, saya minta di rating sama Standard Poor and Moody. But I don't want from the Singapore office. Karena mereka terlalu tahu banyak Indonesia. I want it from London office. Jadi we have teleconference, kita jawab, kita jelaskan rencana kita, nurunin cost, naikin macam-macam. You know what? Standard and Poor and Moody increase our rating 2 notch above the Republic of Indonesia. Hanya 2 perusahaan yang ada 1 notch di atas Republik Indonesia waktu itu, Telkomsel dan Indosat. Itu karena parentsnya AAA. Ya, Umar saya cuma mau nunjukin Sri Mulyani ratingnya rendah banget. Rizal Semen Gresik 2 notch above Republik Indonesia. Ya, nah setelah itu, what I'm trying to say by this example, nggak terlalu mudah, tidak terlalu sulit untuk mengubah BUMN kita jadi BUMN yang kompetitif dan raksasa di Asia. If you learn about China economy, what are the engines of growth besides the private sector? The state enterprise of China that become the major corporation, the driver of China growth. Hello. By the way, when Gus Dur is a president, I asked him, Gus Dur, I work hard for you, even Sunday evening, but you never give me a present. Gus Dur bilang, Rizal, mau apa kamu lagi? Saya kasih. No, I already missed. Saya minta, give me gelar degree Gus.
Gus Ramli.
Ya. Betul nggak bisa itu susah. But 3 years after he passed away, the Alumni Association of Pasantren Tebuiran give me the degree Gus. Cuman harus ganti nama, cuma bukan Ramli tapi Gus Ramli. Karena itu doa. Ada legend. Siapa yang bikin maju Indonesia? Kalau ramalannya itu Notonegoro. Soekarno, Soeharto, habis itu semua goro-goro doang. Yang terakhir yang bikin makmur Indonesia, mulainya dengan Bro. Gus Ramli. Itu doa. Jadi if I have the power to do a change, what I will do, I'm going to reevaluate all Indonesian state enterprise. Sekarang total aset state enterprise Indonesia sekitar 1.000 triliun, about $100 billion. If we reevaluate them, because most of them still value based on historical price, itu the asset will triple or increase by 4-fold. Itu artinya dari $100 billion to about $300 to $400 billion. The difference I will inject that into equity. Jadi equity-nya akan naik paling enggak 150 to $200 billion. With that equity, the state enterprise will have the leverage to raise money to build anything. Mau bikin jalan tol seluruh Indonesia, that's more than enough money. Mau bikin jalan kereta api seluruh Indonesia, that's enough. And this is not a dream. I've done it with PLN. Ya, 4 kali asetnya. Right. Ya. So there are many ways, but you have to be able to think out of the box. If you think in a conventional way to solve Indonesian complicated problem, you're not going to solve anything. Karena udah bahasa Sunda ini dia udah pabariu, udah ribet. You have to get an out-of-the-box solution, solving the problem, and by that way, we are ready to go beyond 10% economic growth a year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rizal. Terima kasih, selamat